All right. Okay. So, here's what we got going on, people. I don't exactly know how I want to do this. I'm sure as time goes on, I will develop a much better system for this and have higher production value than just a Google Docs with a list of topics that I'm going to talk about. But this is the first time I'm doing this, and this is what we got. Okay, so basically, what I want this show to be, I want this show to uh, be just reporting the news, just reporting the facts as we know it at the time of reporting. As the developments, or as more developments happen, I'm sure thoughts on this will change or whatever. But I don't want to give my opinion. I just want to report the news with as little bias as possible, and hopefully it's just straight up facts and nothing else. The sources for the news will be in the description below, and I think with that, that's all I have to say. So I think we can go ahead and get started. So yeah, the first topic I want to talk about is about the Nvidia 3080 launch. So Nvidia, the Nvidia 3080, for those of you who don't know, is a graphics card that is way better than the last generation graphics cards. So obviously a bunch of people were really excited to get their hands on one, or at least you would think. So it got released out on 6 a.m. on Thursday the 17th, and was sold out within 5 minutes at most. And barely a single real person got their hands on one. What happened is a bunch of bots and scalpers ended up buying most of their inventory, and within like 30 minutes, there was tons of listings on eBay for the 3080 for thousands of dollars. The 3080 was only supposed to cost $700 according to Nvidia. So these scalpers and bots bought up most of the bought up most of the inventory, and then listed them on eBay for so much more than the they're supposed to be priced at. Now, obviously, this pissed a lot of people off, and a lot of people still are pissed off. And I feel sorry for anyone who is buying from the scalpers, paying that huge amount of money for something like that little or whatever compared to like what it was supposed to be. So obviously Nvidia has a huge mess on their hands right now, and they're doing their best to try and clean it up. They said that they were aware of the problem of bots and scalpers taking most of their inventory, and they said that the 3080 would be back in stock next week, and hopefully real customers can actually get their hands on one this time. So we'll see how that goes. So if you want a Nvidia RTX 3080, just wait for them to come back in stock next week. Please do not buy from the scalpers on eBay, because you're just like promoting that behavior. You're enabling it. So yeah, with that, I believe that is all I have to say about that topic. Just wanted to bring that up because that affected me personally, because I was one of those people up at 6 a.m. waiting for the 3080. But, you know, it is what it is. So, the next topic we have to talk about is the mental health implications that COVID-19 and the quarantine has had on the population. So, obviously, COVID-19 is an extremely deadly disease, and there's a bunch of side effects that come with it. And not just from having it. One of those unintended effects of COVID-19 is the quarantine, the measures we use to stop or help prevent the spread of the disease, is a mental health crisis that is currently developing in America and a lot of the world. So, on September 16th, the Psychiatric Times reported that they are preparing for the COVID-19 or the mental health crisis from the COVID-19 pandemic, because of the quarantine and not just the quarantine, but because of COVID-19, I should say. It makes it sound like quarantine is a bad thing, but because of COVID-19, there is an unprecedented mental health crisis that has led to an increased risk of psychiatric disorders, such as depression and anxiety and stress and all that stuff, and that there have been a huge, that there have been and there will be a continued rise in suicide cases. So, if you are feeling stressed or anxious or having depressive thoughts, reach out to a friend, reach out to a hotline, get the help you need. Stay safe, everyone. I just wanted to bring that up because mental health is a big issue for me, and I just want to make sure everyone stays as safe as possible, especially during these really weird and trying times that we are going through right now. So there's not exactly a lot to report on for this, other than, or there's not a lot that I personally want to report on this. I just want to let people be aware of this issue and realize that it's happening, and just reach out if you need help. That's all I want to say. Moving on. So, okay, sorry. Moving on. So last week, the U.S. sent more reinforcements to Syria after some clashes with or skirmishes with Russian forces. So the U.S. has sent about 100 troops and 6 Bradley fighting vehicles to northeast Syria after incidents between the U.S. and Russia, and this has some political implications because Donald Trump is trying to pull out of Russia, and he did back in October 2019. Donald Trump withdrew 1,000 U.S. forces there, but now some more troops are being deployed there. So we'll see how that goes. There are no reports of casualties, as far as I am aware of, from the skirmishes and clashes that happened on or between the U.S. and Russia, but hi Daniel, sorry, I just saw your chat. Gosh. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. The U.S. has deployed reinforcements to Syria after some clashes or skirmishes with the Russians. The next topic I want to talk about is dealing with Ethiopia, and the reason why I want to talk about it is Africa, at least in general in the West, is rarely reported on, so which I find sad. Like, at least here in the U.S., I rarely see any news organizations report about anything going on in Africa. The last time I really remember something about it was like, at least there being major coverage on Africa was the Ebola pandemic. Other than that, I normally have to go to international sources for news about Africa, and that includes where this comes from. This article comes from the BBC News, and Ethiopia, the Ethiopian ruling party has accused opposition members of terrorism after ethnic unrest in, I'm so going to butcher the names of this, I'm sorry, but after ethnic unrest in June left 150 people dead. after the killing of Oromo singer Hakulu Handesa. I'm sorry about that. But after that ethnic unrest, the ruling party of Ethiopia has accused a large group of opposition members of terrorism, and critics have accused this move, saying that it's just the ruling party trying to lock up those who oppose this government. We'll see how this goes as time goes on, but for now, that's what we know. But it's very interesting because over 150 people died back in June, and now a bunch of opposition members are being accused of terrorism related to that incident. So, yeah. And then this next one, right here, this next topic we're dealing with, has to do with Greece and a rare storm that looks like a hurricane, also known as Medicane, is currently lashing the islands and the mainland in Greece. And it's technically just a cyclone, but the terminology for it is just like, they call it a Medicane or whatever, Mediterranean hurricane. Ha, there we are, creative. But it has wind speeds of up to 117 kilometers per hour, and has caused a lot of different blackouts and damages along the coast and a little bit of the inland, as well as obviously flooding. The hardest hit areas so far are the islands of Kefalonia, Zakynthos, and Ithaca. Oh gosh, I can't pronounce the names. But there we are. That's kind of all I have to say about that. Just a little update about the weather in the world. Everything else going on. We also have a Mediterranean hurricane on top of it, which is a rare event. So there we are. Now we're getting into the meat of what I really want to talk about. Some really interesting topics. The first one is the Belarus Protests. So, for those of you who don't know, Belarus had election back in August, where the current president claimed victory. However, there's widespread allegations of voter fraud and just it was a rigged election, pretty much. There's just wide allegations that it was a rigged election, voter fraud, all this fun stuff. And protests have been going on for a month now, and the opposition leader has fled to a neighboring country, be out of fear for her life and detainment. And these protests have escalated so that every Saturday there's a march, and for the past 6 weeks, every Saturday there has been a march, and then on Sunday there is another protest. And this one is there's been a brutal crackdown on these protests, and thousands of people have been detained, including a 73-year-old great-grandmother who has become like one of the icons of the protest movement. She was detained she was detained 10 hours ago from when this video is being launched. So yeah, she was detained, and she was thankfully let go, but a bunch of people have been charged because of the protests. There have been reports that some protesters have even been killed and by security forces, and it's just a brutal crackdown going on right now. There's a lot more to it than that, but the EU is considering fresh sanctions on the Belarus government right now because of the crackdown on the protests. However, Russia is currently supporting the government, and says that they will send in security forces if they need to. This is similar to what happened in Crimea back in the early 2010s, and it's mirroring that pretty closely. However, I personally don't think that Russia will try to annex Belarus like they did Crimea. But oh, sorry about that. That was accidental. But yeah. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm sure most of you already have heard about this. And she died at the age of 87 due to pancreatic cancer. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about that. She was an amazing woman. She was a U.S. Supreme Court justice that was adored by a lot of people, even those who disagreed with her. And her death is definitely a pivotal moment in history. Yeah, but her death also means something else. It is going to have huge implications on the current election with Donald Trump and Joe Biden and Kanye West, if he's even still running. I actually need to look if he's actually even still running or not, but her death brings up the Supreme Court back to front and center of the national election. I don't want to get too much into my opinions on that and what I think will end up happening, because the point of this show is to just report the facts as we know them. I will have another show. I do not know when I will actually start it, but I will have another show where I talk strictly, or not strictly, where I do give my opinion and analysis on things, but for now, I just want it to be reporting about the facts, because I believe that's what matters most. If you guys want to read more about any of these topics, you could search it up themselves, or you could search it up yourself, or you could click on the links below to the sources that I used for these topics. Thank you all for joining. I know this is kind of rough, but it's my first time doing this. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk